Hey there folks, welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art, and culture. And today we're going to be talking about the new album from DragonForce, titled Maximum Overload. You know, you won't find many metal bands with a worse reputation within their own genre than DragonForce. And really, it was inevitable. The instant that Through the Fire and the Flames popped up as a bonus track on Guitar Hero, and DragonForce was vaulted into stardom, thanks to a focus on their blazing, gratuitously fast riffs and their ludicrously overblown lyrics and sound. Even though, conceptually, they weren't that many steps away from many common topics and tropes in traditional power metal and speed metal, they were the ones who got popular, and their very complete, sincere embrace of their material became a very easy target for the backlash. It didn't really help matters that the more one dug into DragonForce, even as a fan, the less substantial and well-written the lyrics were, to the point where the speed and occasionally solid melodic progressions were really the only things saving the band from becoming just a borderline parody of itself, especially after some less than favorable live reviews started coming in. Nevertheless, DragonForce continued on with Ultra Beatdown in 2008, which tried to showcase more experimentation and progressive elements, and did contain some solid enough songs. But at this point, the lyrics are becoming a much more noticeable problem, demonstrating less and less cohesion, and elements that were actively starting to repeat themselves, even on songs I like A Flame for Freedom. And after that, lead singer ZP Theart left in 2010, replaced by Mark Hudson, and they released The Power Within in 2012, which, okay, that was not a bad record by any stretch of the mind, but the more I listened to that album, the more I began to think that DragonForce was somewhat missing their mark as a musical act. Now, sure, the fast-paced speed runs and melodic riffs, they were impressive, but DragonForce could really write some solid, well-textured melodic grooves if they chose to go at a slower pace. And considering the lyrics of DragonForce were always pretty much interchangeable, I just didn't want to see the band just become a speed-running gimmick, that's all. In any case, I had no high expectations featuring their newest album, Maximum Overload, which promised to be even faster, featuring new drummer G Azalone after Dave McIntosh left to pursue some progressive rock projects. But I figured what the hell, and I checked it out anyway. What'd I get? Well, okay, it's a DragonForce album. If you like this brand of hyperkinetic, unbelievably cheesy power and speed metal with a fair amount of chiptune and video game influences, and I happen to like that, you'll like this record. If you attempt to take this album with any sort of serious depth and analysis, you're gonna end up disappointed, I'm sorry. But then again, you're probably listening to the wrong band anyways. That said, I can't say that I'm as impressed with Maximum Overload as I was with other DragonForce albums, and that their brand of maximalism on this record doesn't always pay as big dividends as it should, considering how hard they're trying to make this work. So okay, let's get the least important element of this album out of the way right now. The lyrics. Okay, look, I'll give DragonForce some credit for some slight improvements to their lyrical meter and writing courses that are a little bit better structured, but okay guys, let's be honest here. You could swap out some of the lyrics on this album for any other DragonForce song released in the past decade, and what would really change all that much? You get your songs about glory and battle and adventure steeped in plenty of high fantasy imagery, which is fine. You get your dramatic cries for change and to seize control of your dreams, par for the course with DragonForce, and you get your sparse few songs where DragonForce aims to tell a little bit of a darker story. And of these three topics, DragonForce is always better at the first two than the very last one, mostly because they tend to be really unconvincing tackling darker subject matter, even when they bring in Matt Heafy from Trivium to add in some rougher vocals and add some darker guitar texture and more symphonic elements, all of which I will admit that I really did like, by the way. Now, to DragonForce's credit, they don't really shy away from some darker songs, like the very apocalyptic, one of the better songs on the album, The Sun Is Dead, or Symphony in the Night, another song I really like, which both work pretty well. But then you've got the song City of Gold, a song that tries to go for more personal stakes, with this girl trying to make showbiz dreams that you've all seen before, and man alive, does it feel incongruous against the rest of this album. It doesn't fit. Even the ridiculously silly, yet kind of ingenious cover of Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire works better than City of Gold for me, simply because gunning to more personal stakes with DragonForce's style of instrumentation is almost too campy to be believed or taken remotely seriously, especially when the song plays the same struggle with the same level of bombast that you're going to find on the rest of this album, and never really slows down to take a breath and build some atmosphere, even going for a key change to amp up that epic feel, and man, that just does not work here, I'm sorry. Now, to be fair, City of Gold is a song that fits with the overall theme of this album, which deals with taking overwhelming pressure from all sides. And you want to give DragonForce additional credit, they do tackle multiple facets of this theme, from the resignation yet steadfast fast drive to carry on songs like The Game, Defenders, and Symphony of the Night, to the explosive protest songs of No More, Tomorrow King, and Three Hammers. From the apocalypse that might bring about a new dawn when the sun is dead, to the constant living on the edge of Extraction Zone. Each song does bring some differentiation of the common theme, but you'd be forgiven for not noticing this because of a consistent problem for DragonForce in that they don't really change up a lot of the wordplay and similes and symbols that they use. Like it or not, if you spend so much time using the same type of hyperbolic language about fighting against overwhelming odds, and you've been doing this for like 5 or 6 albums at this point, you start losing a sense of the real drama on display. And unfortunately, that's also the instrumentation that falls into the same problem. For starters, Dave McIntosh's loss is very keenly felt, as G. Aslo replaces a lot of the more complex drum lines with just sheer speed, which can work, but does make a lot of the drum progressions a lot less interesting, at least for me. And while I do like the grimier edges on some of the rhythm guitar getting a little bit more attention, once again, the mix seems much more focused on upper-end synths and guitar noodling with various degrees of shrillness at the expense of the bass guitar, which is really a shame because the bass work is normally quite good in DragonForce albums. And sure, it's impressive to see the various guitar solos at even a faster speed, but you lose some of the impact of the solo when the notes flicker by so quickly without a solid supporting melody or riff underneath it. Like on the opening track, The Game, it just feels like a gimmick here. It doesn't help matters that some of the synth choices are really oily and hollow and shrill, like the opening synth line on Tomorrow Kings just does not work there. And what's really frustrating is that when DragonForce actually chooses to slow down a little bit and focus more on some progressive grooves or atmosphere, they can get some really fantastic moments on this album. The stripped back guitars and male backing chorus on Three Hammers, the ghostly interlude with that very subtle organ line on Symphony of the Night, the richer backing choruses and that bass solo on the borderline progressive The Sun is Dead that just comes across so well, and especially that really out of the left field chiptune interlude on Extraction Zone, which sounds unlike anything DragonForce has ever done before. It's got this pretty solid rollicking guitar line and interweaving keyboards that I really did love. It's very telling that for all the fast-paced riffing that DragonForce brings to the table on this album, what I remember most about this record are the quieter moments that are placed in contrast. And it's one of the problems of this constant maximalist approach. If you're full force all the time, and you can't vary your approach enough here consistently, all your speed starts to run together, and so do some of the songs, if I'm gonna be honest. And then there are the vocals. And while I think Mark Hudson is a good replacement for ZP Theard, and the backing vocals, they tend to be fairly solid in supporting him, Manny's a hit or miss vocalist for me. His vocals can be a little less ragged than ZP's, which give him some dramatic power in his low to mid range, but his high range is incredibly shrill and incredibly grating very quickly, especially as you can tell that his vocal production is struggling to force to contain his voice from going off key or going sharp. And like everything else on this record, his voice is stretched to the absolute limit and doesn't have the slightest element of subtlety and never slows down to actually take a breath, which is a real problem here. And okay, I know what some of you are automatically saying. Mark, be honest here, it's DragonForce. You knew exactly what you were getting into when you were decided to review this album. Why are you even listening to this band if you don't want to hear the insane guitar histrionics and the glorious excess? And you know what? Yeah, there is a real point to that. But here's the thing. My issue is that I'm just not wowed by the insane histrionics and the guitar excess anymore. The sense of pacing to this record really feels skewed to me in favor of that excess. Always in a hurry to get back to the guitar gymnastics instead of treating them like something special and focusing more on the melodic grooves or dramatic moments that DragonForce used to actually be able to kill on plenty of occasions. The reasons that I really like this ridiculous band in the first place. I'm not getting a Starfire or an Operation Ground and Pound or a Flame for Freedom from this album, and that lack of contrast really hurts this record as a whole. As it is, Maximum Overload is ridiculous and over the top. You know, I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy it on some level, which means I'm gonna give it a very strong 6 out of 10, but they've made better records here. And if they don't rediscover some musical dynamics in a real hurry, they're gonna become more of a gimmick and less of a band. And that's something I don't want to see. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you'd like to like and subscribe, I'd be more than grateful. If there's any other albums coming out that you want me to take a look at, and though I said albums, not EPs, I'd be more than happy to give them a listen. If there's anything else that I could do to improve my presentation, I'm all ears to that as well. Until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.